Okay. We are in Parakeh Halacha Hey. What daf is that? Chav Beis and off at the bottom. No, I didn't realize it was that far. Oh, okay. Halukech minani. Somebody who acquires food from an ani. Now, this is your regular guy. You bought money for food from an ani. Or you're the ani yourself, and you were given pieces of bread, or pilchet vela, or the individual pieces of dates. Since you don't know who you're getting from, obviously an ani gets from many different sources, so each one, some of it could be meiser already, some of it might not be meiser already, right? So therefore, since there's no way of knowing what was meiser already and what was not, so therefore you have to meiser from each one independently. You can't put everything together and meiser it all together. However, by dates and by figs, bolel and notel, you can mix them all together. These are not individual dates. I apologize. Before we talk about bunches of dates, now we're talking about individual dates. If you have individual dates, you can mix them all together, and then you can take a tenth or whatever of the entire thing. In other words, in that case, if you have individual dates, so the assumption is that they can get mixed up well. Once they mix up well, whenever you take off a tenth, it's proportionally a tenth of the entire mixture, right? It's well mixed, so throughout the batch. Okay? Rabbi Yehuda said, that's when you have a lot of dates, because then you can mix them up and you can make it proportional throughout the entire batch. But when the ani only has a few dates, he must meiser from each one. He must meiser each batch he got from each house independently, because each batch might have its own status vis-a-vis trumas and meisers. Okay? Rabbi Yosef B'Shem Rabbi Yehuda B'Shem Chizkiah said, "Ein belila eliyain v'shem milvad." The only time you can make a large batch out of all the individual donations and take meiser from proportionally of the entire thing is if it's wine or oil. In other words, a liquid. Because liquid, if you pour a whole bunch of liquids together, they do get mixed up proportionally, very accurately, but not by solids. Rabbi Yochanan says up to the size of olives, they can't get mixed together proportionally. In other words, it's fine enough. In other words, a powder, of course, we would all hold, can get proportionally mixed up so that, any part of the batch has a proportional mixture of the entire batch. But he says even larger particles, up to the size of olives, have that property. Okay? Masnis and pliga Rabbi Yochanan. It seems our Mishnah argues Rabbi Yochanan, because Rabbi Yochanan says if there are Mishnah that's even by gloigos and tamarim, even by figs and dates, one can mix them together. And and figs and dates are substantially bigger than olives. What? Oh, Rabbi Yisrael, I'm sorry, I said no, Rabbi Yochanan. Pliga Rabbi Yochanan. Because Rabbi Yochanan says up to the size of zaysim and not larger. It sounds like our Mishnah, you can even mix larger objects proportionally. So it says the Gemara, no. He could part our law. Rabbi Yochanan would say our Mishnah is talking about ad kazaysim. So about up to the size of kazaysim, not larger than the size of kazaysim. Rabbi Yosef Rabbi Zira gives another interpretation, and he says, when do I say that only up to the size of a kazayis can be mixed together and make a proportional mixture throughout the entire batch, where by tarovas of regular things, when you mix together regular things. However, but Demai, it should be hikilu. By Demai, they were makel and they were lenient, and they said that even larger particles can get mixed together in a way which allows you to take meiser proportionally on the entire batch.
What do you get a mixture of larger and smaller?
That's a good question. Probably will be answered as we see on Amud Beis. Let's see how, we are on Amud Beis. So a few lines down. Rabbi, he takes out the gra. I shouldn't say he. The gra takes out the next two words. Oh. The Gra takes out the next two words, and we say the next word should be Rabbi Yasa, Rabbi Yossi. I don't know. Do you have it also as Rosh Davis? I don't know who this is. Riomer, Amosai, when is this true? Bisman Shematzon Meruba. When there's, it's a quote from the Mishnah, so it's Rabbi Yehuda. Okay. Where Rabbi Yehuda says, when is it true that you can make a proportional mixture? When you can have a large amount. When there's a small amount, then there's no way to make a proportional mixture. Therefore, you have to meiser each batch you only got has to be meiser independently. The very Rabbi Yanei and asked Rabbi Yanei said, "B'shasa goren shonu." This is talking about at the time of the goren. Now, this is really addressing your question, Dr. Spinell. The time of the goren, we're talking about the time of the giving from the silo. Shakol yunosim me'asah. Everybody gives 10 out of 100. Everybody gives 100 saw. That's what they used to give us Maiserani. That was, I guess, the shiur, what they used to give to poor people. What if that's not the case? If all the balabatim would give to the poor people the shiur of 100, one of them only gave the shiur of 50. One of them only gave the shiur of 50. So a skinflint or poor, one of the two, maybe both. Now, I'm not sure which key it is, but I think it's this one. Good luck. Okay, so he's giving less. He's giving 1 out of 50, right? He's giving 50, sorry. Everybody's giving 100, he's giving 50. So when you have to divide up the lots which you have into 50s, okay? So you have to take into account that batch which you got from that guy gave 50. Everybody else gave 100. Doesn't matter because he gave 50. So therefore, you have to divide it up into lots of 50 and take out proportionally from each lot of 50. Is that clear? So the same will be true if you have some big size and some big small size. You're going to have to group them separately in order that you should be able to distinguish what's what. Okay, you have to be able to make it proportional across the board. Okay, everybody gave 50s. One gave 40 units. To divide everything in units of 40. Everybody was giving units of 40. One of them was giving units of 30. You give Meiser from 30. Everybody give units of 20. Someone will give a unit of 10. You give from 10. Everybody gave units of 10, one guy gave 1. So you have to meiser everything individually.
Why does the Gemara go through?
I don't know why the Gemara goes to this. It's like Avraham Avinu and stone. Yeah. Okay. Look, you're right. Yerushalmi needed editing. What can I tell you? They want to make the blot easy. Okay. It is really an easy blot tonight. Now, the best way to translate siton in English, in my opinion, is a co-op. Okay, basically all the farmers will give their stuff to the co-op. You buy from the co-op. Problem is some farmers are frum, some farmers are not frum, right? Shouldn't say frum, not frum. Amaratzim and chaverim, right? Tenuva, right? The same idea. Yeah. So no. Well, you're maybe. Then you do a bought from them a second time around. But you bought from Tenuva a batch today, and a week later you bought another batch. So lo yaser mizalzeh, you got a nice meiser from one batch to another batch, because who knows, right? You don't know what you're buying, because the co-op is constantly from different farmers, right? Afilu milsa sugim is the same type, fruit. Afilu milsa meaning the same thing, plums. However, nemanasita lomar mishal echore. The co-op. The guy who runs the co-op is trusted. If he says, I got all this fruit from the same source, then you believe him, then he can meiser even what you buy next week or you bought today.
Even if the guy that runs it is an
right, because he doesn't get anything by saying that. That's what it sounds like. Okay? It says Rabbi Yerushalmi Demai. Now, you know what, guys? I don't know if I saw this anywhere before. I want to say a shocking thing. The word boy in Yerushalmi doesn't always mean a question. It means sometimes a statement. It's clear. I've tried to translate it. Yeah, maybe I have said it in the past. I've tried all the time to translate boy as a question. It's not. It doesn't work, okay? Later on we're going to have boy. In the next Mishnah, boy is going to mean a question. Here it's a statement, okay? So sometimes in the Bavli, boy always means a question. In the Yerushalmi, isn't that shocking? It's like... So, yeah, it is pretty annoying. So Rabbi Yerushalmi made the statement. Even if I praised even if I praise what I'm buying, meaning I'm the buyer, I say I say that grain which I brought from you yesterday, tavin havin mi'inun. They were better than what I'm buying from you today. The stuff I'm buying today it stinks, right? It's bad. So even if you say even if it then I'm not sure exactly how to punctuate it. The next word inun means he says they're from the same grower. Which I say the stuff I bought from you yesterday was much better. You say they're from the same grower. You're the co-op guy. So I believe you. Okay? Even if there is a distinct difference between the types, and I confront you on that, and you say, well, they're from the same grower, I might think you're being defensive, right? So no, I do believe you in that case. I believe you're telling the truth when you say that they're the same. It says say from the same grower. So I'm not sure exactly how to punctuate this. Let's read it again. Rabbi Yehuda stated, even if you praise the previous one, meaning those that bought for you say tavin avin meinun, meaning tavin avin. I stay out to punctuate now. I got it. I say the ones I bought for you yesterday are better. He's believed to say me'inin inun, from the same ones. These are they. In other words, he's believed to say the same.
It's in his best interest to say that it's the same grower.
I don't know. I think he probably gets the same price regardless. That's the way the co-op works. Every day he features another farmer's wares, or sometimes the same one, but every day so, and therefore he gets the same price. It's tough on you. It's a cabal, right? No matter what you get, you pay the same price. I'm assuming that. Because you're right, otherwise it might be choshed, right?
Right, maybe because it's a co-op, like you say.
Right.
It would be just a private wholesale.
Then it might not apply. Right. Could be. Okay, says the Gemara, obviously there are extenuating circumstances to lead to credibility here. Tani learned to if you're buying from a storekeeper, not a wholesaler of this sort, but a storekeeper, because you buy from him a second time. If you recognize the barrel, he, that's the same barrel he's selling you from, Meitzah Rimeno Love. So you can Meitzah from the wine you bought today on the wine you bought a week ago. But if you don't recognize that barrel, lo b'dah, then not in this case. In that case, I can't Meiser from the stuff I bought this week on the stuff I bought last week. Ha did the Tamar be Elon Eid Tik Dima. That's only true about large barrels. Because large barrels, he doesn't usually pour out stuff from them. So he keeps them there until they're finished, and then he takes them, he schleps them and fills them again. Okay, so therefore I assume whatever's in the barrel this week is the same stuff which is in the barrel last week. But by those which can be poured easily, so then I can't assume that the stuff which is in the barrel this week is the same stuff which is in the barrel last week. Why? Because maybe poured it out, right? There's turnover. So urcha, the normal derech is mifantun elaine l'go elaine. You pour out some into others, right? So therefore, I then couldn't rely on that svore. Okay. New Mishnah halacha vav halokech mi ba'abayis because the same case, except now we're telling him not about the co-op, but from the ba'abayis himself, from the farmer. You bought it from the farmer. Because you bought it from him again. Meiser mizel, you meiser from what you bought you can meiser from what you bought the second time when you bought the first time, and vice versa. Even if it's from two different containers, even if he's growing some of it in Rockford and the rest of it in where do they grow grain here? Peoria, right? So nonetheless, it's the same farmer. We say he applies the same quality control or lack thereof across the board. So therefore, whatever is Demai across the board. Whatever is Vada across the board. Okay? I'm sorry, Ba'abayis. Do you have any Rosh Tevis there too? Do you also have Beis Hey? It's Ba'abayis. Ba'abayis shemochi yerek b'shuk. A Ba'abayis who is selling vegetables in the marketplace. Same idea. Logical. When they bring it to him from his own gardens, meaning he's a retailer selling his own product, his own produce. So Meiser Miachas Al you assume that whatever the status of whatever thing you buy is the status of everything, right? They bring it from other gardens, other vegetable batches besides his own. Meiser Kulachas, you have to Meiser from each thing independently. Okay? Rabbi Yonah asked. Here it's a question. Rabbi Meir Meiser Mikol Kelch v'Kelch. Like Rabbi Meir, you have to Meiser from each and every stalk you buy. Now, this is a major chumrah. In other words, you buy individual stalks of celery, not stalks, individual bunches of celery. You have to buy meiser from each bunch. You buy scallions, right? Each scallion, you have to separate meiser from itself. Why should that be? So what? The Tzniya Tamar, because you learned over there. This is a Mishnah somewhere in Machshirin. The Rameir said, There's a very interesting case over there. It's a case. The question is, how does a bunch of vegetables become mukshel kabel tuma? And do I assume it's mukshel kabel tuma? And the various different approaches there in the Mishnah right now doesn't concern us directly. But Rameir says, you know how they become mukshel kabel tuma? The guy takes apart a bunch, and then in order to put the bunch back together again, he moistens a piece of rope or hemp or whatever it is with his mouth. He gets his saliva on it, and then he ties the bunch down with his saliva moistened tie. So that saliva is machshir the fruit.
Is that one of the liquids?
It's mine. My saliva is considered mine, I think. I'm pretty sure about that. Because it's not Yad Shachadam. It's not one of those 7. So I'm pretty sure it's considered to be water. Okay? I'm pretty sure about that. In any event, that's the case. So Rameir says, it must be according to Rameir at least, that the Mashka Pete. So in any event, so according to Rameir, you take the bundle together apart, put it back together again. Each one they're all mukshel kabutum because of saliva. Okay, be that as it may, says the one Lamaisa. That means that you take bundles and you make bundles, reconstitute bundles. It's bundles which originally constitute one way, you open them up and then you reconstitute them. So who says that all the stalks in the bundle came from the same place? So you might have to Meiser from each stalk independently, right?
That's such an extreme case.
That's more answers. Says the Gemara, again, let me read from the beginning. Why has it become tummy there by mukshel kabel tuma? Because of the liquid in the mouth. So just like you say over there, it's kamad tamer tamon means not like I said over there. It's as if it says lo kamad tamer tamon. I'm not sure exactly how to translate that in a smooth way, but let me try it this way. Kamad tamer tamon, like that which we say over there, derech aguda litor, the way of a bundle is to untie it. Retie it with your mouth. True. But that doesn't apply over. That doesn't have any relevance over here. Here we would also say derech aguda litor. It's true. You would say that you normally take apart the bundle, but however, do you think that then he takes the stalks which are there and replaces them with others? No. He unties the bundle to check for bugs, whatever the case may be. But then when he ties it back together again, it's the same stalks reconstituting the bundle. So therefore, whatever the status is to begin with, the status he has now, we don't assume there was any mixing and matching going on. Okay? Rabbi Yonah said, Lo sof davar migino sof. You should know that not just if it's from his own gardens do I say that whatever it is not locha consistently throughout the batch. Even from other gardens. If the other gardens are with his suppliers, they meiser to his specs, right? He specifies what they should meiser or not. So if that's the case, meiser means they'll take a meiser from one thing and the other thing, because I assume that whatever they're doing, they're following his specifications, and therefore even if they come from separate gardens, it's all based on his standards, and his standards are low, and therefore you can meiser from one on the other, right? If whoever, they don't meiser based on his specifications, but they have their own specifications for meisering, then you know, you can't meiser from one thing on the other thing. Okay? This is a very interesting Mishnah. You buy tevel, definite tevel, from two different places. Meiser mizel, so you can meiser from one or the other. That's obvious. Okay? If they're both tevel, you can meiser from one tevel and another tevel. Right? It's all the same tevel. Where are we machmir? By Demai. Because Demai, different people have different standards. But by tevel, tevel is tevel. Right? However, you should know this is an aberrant case. Because this case is taking place despite the fact that Chazal said you're never allowed to sell tevel unless there's a necessity to do so. Demai, yes. You could sell Demai. A Nachtum could sell Demai. Other people could sell Demai, but not tevel. It is absolutely forbidden to sell tevel.
That's Midarabbanan.
Midarabbanan.
Why did they institute that?
Lifnei Iver. Right? Makes sense, right? So I'm Rabbi Yonah. Rabbi Yonah said, wait a minute. Who? Kini Mas Nisan. This is the way to understand our Mishnah. Let's expand upon it a little bit. Ein adam rashayli kor tevel el tzorach. A person not allowed to sell tevel unless it's a necessity. However, even then, ubilvad lechaver. Even if there's a necessity, you're still only allowed to sell it to a chaver, not to an amoritz. Says more now. If that's the case, we have a problem. Me'ata amoritz shisariv tirvo b'chulin ein lo takona. If an amoritz gets his own personal tevel mixed up with chulin, so how's he ever going to meiser it? He can't meiser from that batch in and of itself, because he doesn't know. Maybe I'll pick up a chulin piece and make that truma on the tevel, and I'm going to mess it up. The only way to meiser, by definition, the only time tevel chulin, the only way I can take meiser of tevel and chulin which got mixed together is by taking more tevel, which is definite tevel, and taking the meiser from that second tevel on the first initial tevel. But this poor Hamoritz ain't nobody going to sell him tevel, because he's an Hamoritz. So he's stuck. So how's he ever going to fix this batch? Right? It's a good question. There's more, he's stuck. Ketzo said, what's the only thing he can do? Holich etzel chaver. He can go to the chaver and say, Rabbi, can you buy me some tevel and fix my fruit for me, because I'm not allowed to buy tevel. And the rabbi or the chaver here buys from tevel and meises it for him.
The Amoritz is going to know to do that?
No. We have to. Yes, that much. Yes. No. He's got to know to go to his local Orthodox rabbi. If he doesn't even know that, all is lost. Okay. Okay. Allah ches. We might actually finish early tonight. I know this. Probably have to prepare more. I think we're going to do 3 blot as is tonight. Our goal is to finish the parak. Okay, well, we did 1 blot array almost, right? Not quite. So the Mir Hashem tonight we'll try and finish the parak. What is it? No, we start with Talmud. Oh, hey, yeah, hey. I have 2 hays in a row. Do you have 2 hays in a row?
We started with the bottom line of base of an hour. You came 10 minutes after we started.
You came so late, and you still came on time. We might still end early. Okay. Now, this Mishnah, the Gemara is going to say, is very, 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 very one-sided. It's probably the right term. Okay. This Mishnah is going like the opinion that when a goy purchases land in the land of Israel, that does not what's the word? Ein lokin. That does not undermine the chiyuv of trumas and meises of the crop. Where a Jew gets that crop, he's got to take trumas and meises off it. Okay, that's what it says here. Meiser mishal yisrael, you meiser from stuff which grew in a Jew's field, al shalakim and stuff which grew in a goy's field. Shalakim meiser from stuff which grew in a goy's field, al shalakim stuff which grew in a Jew's field, because they're both the same level of chiyuv, since the goy's purchase does not undermine in any way, shape, or form the chiyuv of trumas and meisers. Similarly, Meiser from that stuff which grew in a Jewish field, and that stuff which grew in a Samaritan field. We shall kutim Meiser from stuff which grew in a Samaritan field. Al shall kutim on the stuff which grew in another Samaritan's field. Rabbi Lezer Oser we shall kutim al shall kutim. Rabbi Lezer says it's forbidden. Why is that? Because one kuti might take off Trumas and Meisers. Some of them did. So therefore I can't Meiser from a kuti on a kuti. You never can tell which kuti is going to take off and which is not going to take off. So there is when I buy grain from kuti number 1, I have to take Trumas and Meiser of it, but I can't take Trumas and Meiser from it on grain which I bought from kuti number 2. Because maybe kuti number 1 did Meiser already. And maybe kuti number 2 did not Meiser already, or vice versa.
Kuti doesn't get time.
We bought it before his muksher. We even have his muksher. Still have to take off Trumas and Meiser, even though they become tamei. Nobody can eat them. That's bisman azeh. We have to take them off anyway, right? Atzitz nokov. I think it's the first time in Shas we come across this. Atzitz nokov is a perforated pot. What? In Yerushalmi. No, in Mishnayos, I mean. Shas Mishnayos. First time in Shas Mishnayos. Atzitz nokov. There is, of course there is. It is, but getting is later than Demai. So in absolute terms, not in terms of what we learn in yeshiva. No, in absolute terms. Atzitz nokov, a perforated pot, perforated planter. It's like the land, the ground itself. Because we say it derives moisture from the ground. Torah min aretz halotzitz nokov. Therefore, if you take truma from that which grew in the land and that which grew in the perforated pot, or vice versa, milotzitz nokov, and that which grew in the perforated pot, al aretz, and that which grew in the land, truma of truma, that's truma. Umishaino nokov, however you take truma and from a non-perforated pot, al nokov on a perforated pot, so it is truma. But only the Rabbanan, obviously. It's not valid Truma D'Oraisa, because anything that grows in a non-perforated pot is exempt D'Oraisa. Right? It's not Chayav Truma S'maisos. Right, like hydroponics. V'shein Nokov Nokov Truma, but V'yachsar V'yitrum. It's Truma D'Rabbanan. Let me make it clear. It's not Mechuyev in Truma D'Rabbanan. You didn't have to take the Truma off the stuff which grew in the perforated pot. In the unperforated pot, non-perforated pot. But once you did, it's Truma D'Rabbanan. However, it's a messed up Truma, right? Because it didn't have any effect on the perforated pot. Because the perforated pot, in order to be mutter, requires Truma D'Oraisa to be taken off that. And this ain't valid Truma D'Oraisa, right? So v'yachsav yitrum minan nakuv, you have to be closer and turn him again, because otherwise you can't eat the stuff on which you took off the truma. Now, what about the other direction? Minan nokov, you took off truma from stuff in a perforated pot. Al sheinu nokov, stuff which is not a perforated pot. Truma, there too it's truma. V'lo sochal, but you can't eat the truma itself in that case, because there the truma itself is really tevel. Because you would use that to make truma on something which is not chayiv in truma, right? So again, midrabanan we consider truma, but on the truma itself, the kohen can't eat it. Achiyoti love truma sumaisrus. So you take truma sumaisrus on the truma itself. Okay, so it's a very fictitious truma. Okay, Torah mina Demai ala Demai. You took truma from Demai and Demai, or from Demai and Vadai. So truma, it is truma by yachsar v'yitrum. Since we don't know what the status of since no two d'mayis are necessarily the same, so therefore it is truma. You have to take truma over again, because maybe the first d'mai was really meiser rate, and the second d'mai was not. So therefore you have to take meiser over again. Okay? Mina vada el d'mai. If you took truma from vada tevel on d'mai, truma, the same idea. It's exactly like an otzitz sheino nokov and an otzitz nokov and an otzitz sheino nokov. You took from vada and d'mai, so it's truma, but maybe it's not truma at all, because maybe the d'mai is exempt, and therefore lo sochal, you can't eat it at shiotzu of truma samaisos until you take truma samaisos off the truma itself.
There's no connection between the safe and the
Only, not that I can discern. Not that I recall. Okay, it says Gemara, Masnis in the Rabbi Meir, I'm Mishloach Rabbi Meir. The Rabbi Meir says, Ein kinyan la'akum be'eretz Yisrael. A goy does not have rights of acquisition in the Holy Land. La'afkir midei meiser, to deprive the produce of the status of meiser or chiyuv meisers. Rabbi Yehuda, Rabbi Shimon, and Rabbi Shimon both argue, and Oimrin, they say, Yesh kinyan la'akum be'eretz Yisrael. A goy's acquisition of land in Eretz Yisrael does exempt that which grew in his true domain from meiser. Rabbi Imei b'shem Rabbi Shimon look and said, Tani Rabbi Meir, what's the logic of Rabbi Meir? V'isnachaltem osam livnechem acharechem, you should bequeath your slaves to your children after you, l'reshes achuzah, to inherit as a portion. Hekish achuzah la'avodim. So there's a linkage made drawn here between portions of land and slaves. Ma'avodim, just like slaves. Atem konim mehem. You can buy Canaanite slaves. Ve'imoni konim mechem, but they cannot buy Jewish slaves, right? There's no concept of Jews serving in slavery to non-Jews. Avachuza, so too by lands. Atem konim mehem, you acquire lands from them. Ve'aim ein konim mikem, they can't acquire lands from you. In other words, if they do, it doesn't belong to them. It still retains the status of Trumas U'Maisers. The present government. Okay. I'm Rabbi. I want to say I'm Rabbi Ami again, but I don't know. Let's say I'm Rabbi Ami. No, it's somebody Rabbi Yossi. Rabbi Loza, Rabbi Yossi, I don't know exactly who it is. But somebody said, Kumi Rabbi Yasa, in front of Rabbi Yasa, V'dom Messiah Rabbi Meir, the following passage is right to Rabbi Meir. V'oretz losim b'ochelitz misus. The land should not be sold permanently. Kili kol haaretz. Because says God, the land belongs to me. L'chol tonis. That means the land can't be sold definitively to a goy. If it's sold to a goy, it still retains its chiv of Trumas U'Maisros. Amar lei, so Rabbi Yas responded, no. Kol garma Omar, which in Hebrew translates Kol Atzmosha Pasuk Zeh. The entire rest of the Pasuk, the Messiah Rabbi Shimon is right for Rabbi Shimon. How so? Because it says Lo Simaker, don't sell the land. If the sale had no halakhic ramification, why is there any problem in selling the land? Who cares? Doesn't do anything. By virtue of the fact that the Torah is to warn you, it sounds like if you did sell it, then it loses its status of Trumas U'Maisros. Okay? So the Torah had to say lo simaker and warn you, don't sell it. It must be because if you do sell it, there are consequences. What would the consequences be? That it would be exempt from Trumas U'Maisros. Okay?
Is there a logic to that? To say that even if you do sell it, it's still the kedusha, the land still remains and it's still private.
Yeah, so why lo simacher? So be able to sell it. There's another possible for that, lo suchanem. So you don't need the popes looking for that. Lo suchanem means don't lo sitelim chanoi bekarka, don't let them stay. Okay, period. Now, Lamaisa, if we pass on a mayor, that would cause us major headaches in halacha, right? Basically, in the land of Israel, you'd everything be chuv and true semaisers, everything chuv and shmita, very bad problems, right? So, of course, we have to get around this halacha. How do we? Fortunately, we have machlokas tanoim. Rabbi Huna Ruba de Tziporin, Rabbi Huna the great of Tzipori said, Omar, Hinig, Rabbi Chanina be Tziporin, Rabbi Chanina conducted in Tziporin, the nation, Ke'ador the Rabbi Shimon. Just like Rabbi Shimon, who said what? That Yesh Kinyan, right, if going by it, it's exempt. Rabbi Zira said, Hinig, Rabbi Chanim Tzipori, because of Rabbi Shimon, the same idea. Rabbi Zira, Amar Kumi, Rabbi Avo, B'Shem Rabbi Lozer. Rabbi Zira said in front of Rabbi Avo, in the name of Rabbi Lozer, you should know, even though the mayor said that a goy can't exempt from Trumas U'Maisros, Moduhu Hacha, he concedes the point here. The word Hacha is a little bit extra. He concedes the point the Yeshul Kinyan Chosim. It's not an invalid sale. Don't think that the sale is invalid just doesn't exempt from Trumas Umaisrus. But he does have rights in the land once he buys it. Okay? If you want it back, you got to buy it back. You can't just take it back. Okay? Rabbi Bar says, what right does he have in the land? Uchlas Peros, meaning he has the right to eat fruit. Right? He has legal rights in the land to eat fruit. No more than that, but that he has. Okay? Says the Gemara further. V'atinon, didn't we learn how lokech maybe bikurin? Now this is an interesting case. Literally, it means the customer brings bikurin, the buyer. It's not what it means. It means it's like this: you own land in Eretz Yisrael. You own the plot of land in Ashdod. So too goy. You have to buy back the first fruit and bring it as bikurim. You got to do that. Yeah. That means lokeach. You, the seller, have to buy back and bring the bikurim to Yerushalayim. Mipnei tikkun olam, but only midrabanan because of tikkun olam. You know, this is what is the big catchword in modern Judaism is tikkun olam, right? See what we call tikkun olam? Tikkun olam means bringing the bikurim from the land. Okay, you can take that at face value, can darshan it, whatever you want. But anyway, yeah.
Would sales to a guy go back?
Have to revert during Yovel to original owner.
What if the guy says, no way?
We beat him. Okay? Okay? The views expressed in the shiur do not necessarily. That's right. Okay. V'yavi bikurim dvar Torah. According to Meir, should I bring bikurim d'oraisa? Because ain't kidding Lakov. He was sold to a guy. It's a meaningless sale vis-a-vis mitzvahs hakluyas baritz. So why is it mibnei tikkun olam? It's d'oraisa. Guess what? Such a good question. We don't answer anything. Okay? Rabbi Yerushalmi and Rabbi Shimon, b'shem Rabbi Shimon Levi said. So it's another right against Rabbi Meir. It's another reason to paskin like Rabbi Shimon, obviously. What? Yeah, but it sounds like it's a Stam Mishnah, and that's what we're asking from an Rabbi Meir. Maybe. Yeah, I know, but you're raising the point. Who cares if it argues Rabbi Meir? Yeah, okay. That's true. Rabbi Yoina and Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Shimon Levi said, Halokech peros tlushim minakum. You buy fruit which is already severed from the ground from a goy. Mafish trumas ma'aser me'alocha. You take of trumas ma'aser d'rabbanan. Me'alocha here means d'rabbanan, not alocha l'moshe misina. Mi'd'rabbanan. V'noisin l'shevet. You got to give it to the Kohanim or to Levim. You're allowed to sell it to the Kohanim and Levim. This is it's not according to Rabbanan, according to Meir, obviously. Even if you buy fruit which is already severed from the ground, you buy figs in the marketplace from an Arab woman, you got to give Trumas U'Maiser from it, but you don't have to give it for free. You can charge the Kohen and Levi for the Trumas U'Maisers. Okay?
No Levi or Kohen wants to buy it.
Yeah, let it rot. If you buy produce which is still connected to the ground, now it didn't grow in your jurisdiction. If it grew in your jurisdiction, you're chayiv d'oraisa, right? It's still connected to the ground, but it didn't grow under your jurisdiction. You take of trumas ma'aser midrabanan, but this is stronger d'rabanan. You give it to the Kohanim, and now let's accept money from it. Now he brings down on the bottom here. The reason for this is because there are 2 points of chiyuv by trumas ma'asers. It has to be heavy shlish biyad Yisrael, has to grow to a third of its growth, hands of a Jew, and also has to be miruach, harvester and processing in the hands of a Jew. So here there was heavy shlish biyad goy, so it's exempt. But since miruach was biyad Yisrael because it was mechuber when you bought it, the harvesting and processing was in the hands of the Jew, so it's a higher level of a chiyuv d'Rabbanan. And therefore, in this case, you can't sell it to the Kohen Levi. You got to give it for free. Okay? Matam. What pasuk teaches us that you don't have to give trumas and meisers from goyish stuff to deoraisa, as opposed. I think that's what it's teaching us. No. Well, it's teaching us two things. Teaching us that you don't give trumas ma'aser d'oraisa from a goyis. So it's teaching us you're allowed to take money from the Kohanim and Levim when you give them the trumas ma'asers, which only do rabbanan in any event. Well, how do we learn it out? Ki tichu me'es b'nei Yisrael. When you take from Bnei Yisrael, now it's about the Kohanim and Levim. When they take from Bnei Yisrael, so then they take it for free. Meis Bnei Yisrael at moitzi. From Bnei Yisrael, you extract the truma and meiser, meaning for free. The Kohanim and Levim come and collect. That's only from Kohanim B'stam Bnei Yisrael. But not from people who have who are friends of Kohanim and Levim, because we know Yisrael are allowed to make deals with specific Kohanim and Levim that they know. In other words, that the deal which they generally made is that they would lend money to a Kohen, and then the Kohen would owe them some money, and instead of the Kohen paying back cash, every year when they set aside the Truma, they would sell the Truma to some other Kohen and deduct that amount from the principal of the loan. Okay? That's called Makori Kunav Levia. So in that case, Xeris HaKosav, since you already have a deal Makori Kuna, the Kohen or Levi is not allowed to come and take the Truma or Meiser from that Yisrael. Meis B'nei Yisrael, where there's no Makori Kuna Levia involved. Okay? That's one drasha. Now the Gra takes out the next four words, and we make another drasha. Ki tichu me'es b'nei Yisrael. Me'es b'nei Yisrael at moitzi. From Neso you can extract trumas and meises for free. Ve'ena moitzi miyad akum. You can't extract trumas and meises for free from truma meiser on his own volition anyway, right? What it means is that Yisrael who buys from a goy and has to take off trumas and meises to Rabbanon, you can't extract it from him for free. He can make you pay for it if you want it. Okay? He can make the Kohen Levi pay for it. Okay? Rabbi Yacha said, Bimei Rabbi Yeshua, in the days of Rabbi Yeshua, who was one of the last Tanoim, Bikshu, they made an attempt, Limones al Har Melech, to vote on Har Melech, Lefochim and Mises, to exempt him from Mises. Why? Because most of Har Melech was owned by whom? Take a guess. Yeah. The Romans. That's probably what's called Har Melech. It was the mountain of the king, right? So therefore they wanted to part from Trumas Hamais because they said it belongs to God. Like Rabbi Shimon. I don't know where it is. I don't know. I'm sure we don't know. Amru, they said, Yover Rabbi Yeshua. Let's wait till Rabbi Yeshua gets here. V'lo speak Lavo. He didn't manage to come out for a Shah. I guess there were, pogroms or whatever, until things went crazy, so he didn't get a chance to be matched. But Rabbi Yehuda Arpazi B'Shem Rabbi Yosha said, by virtue of the fact they're waiting for Rabbi Yosha to come matched, what do we see about Rabbi Yosha's Shita? It was, what does Rabbi Yosha hold? Halach Rabbi Shimon. Halach must be a Rabbi Shimon that we can exempt this land for Trumas and Mises. The low Cain, because if not, Man on Amin. What else will we say? Well, this is kind of like the Yerushalmi. Yerushalmi's playing Jewish debating tactics here. As Yerushalmi says. So, what else would you think? Well, you need a Rabbi Yeshua. Tell us hello, Rabbi Shimon. The low Cain. If Rabbi Yeshua would not have Rabbi Shimon, man on Amin, what would we have said? Rabbi Shimon ain't a local Rabbi Shimon. Well, Rabbi Shimon, we don't pass like Rabbi Shimon. Of course, we pass like Rabbi Shimon. Elo, to begin the Tani, now I'll tell you why. It's a confusing sugya. They had to tell us you pass like Rabbi Shimon. Why is that? Begin time because we have a misleading brisa. So brisa says, Rabbi Shimon Shizuri said over. Rabbi Shimon Shizuri, Maisa Shini Salvu, Peiros Tevulim be Peirosai. Once it happens that I got peiros of tevel mixed into my regular fruit, right? So I had chulin and tevel mixed into each other. V'shalti is Rabbi Tarfon. I asked Rabbi Tarfon what to do. V'amarli, and he said to me, Rabbi Tarfon said, "Tzei v'loicha min akum." Aha! Who does Rabbi Tarfon know like? Like Rabbi Meir. He said, go buy fruit from a goy and take meiser from the fruit of the goy off of your stuff. So what do we, off the stuff which got mixed in together. So we see Rabbi Tarfon also like Rabbi Meir, right? So, V'tani law concerning did I read the whole thing? And use that to separate meisers. V'tani olei, we learn to say this. Rabbi Shimon Omer, Rabbi Shimon says, Yeshkin be'laku be'eretz Yisrael l'fotro mina meiser. We learned on this. Right, but Shimon Rabbi argue. The low tizbor meimar. So now, getting back to why we needed Rabbi Yosha, we don't want you to think, do not think to say, the low tizbor, do not think meimar to say, trey kavod kol treinun, that, well, now it's 2 against 2. Rabbi Shimon, Rabbi Meir, passing like Rabbi Shimon. It says we never pass Rabbi Meir. Why don't we pass Rabbi Meir? You masculine, you. What does the Gemara say? Because their mayor is so sharp, they weren't be able to tell me al daito. The Rabbi Gamliel, which the end of which Masech is that I forget. Somewhere in one of the Masechs, their mayor Rabbi Nosson plot against Rabbi Gamliel. Is it Horios? Avodah Zarah? It's one of those.
No, what if you want to fall away? Something also yeah.
What caught in it?
I thought we were passing on our mayor because we call him out because he was already.
No, that's Hacherem. It's called Hacherem. But that's not a reason not to pass him like him. There's no basket is because he was too sharp. It's like the rugged sharper. Nobody can understand him, so they didn't pass him like him. Okay. Spend unless you're masculine, then you have other reasons for it. So Lamaisa, so I might say it's 2 against 2, right? Rabbi Shimon versus Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Tarfon. So maybe in that case, I'll paskin like maybe in that case, Itaka might paskin like Rabbi Meir and Rabbi Tarfon together. Therefore, Lefum Kain Tzarech Lomar Haloch Rabbi Shimon. That's where Rabbi Yosha had to come along and say Haloch is like Rabbi Shimon. Vod minador. And I also know, no, Rabbi agrees with Rabbi Shimon. Rabbi Yehuda and Rabbi Shimon Omer Yeshkin Lakum Le'Beretzo Liftar. Vod minador also have a problem with the following mice, which is why I need Rabbi Yehuda to tell you passing like Rabbi Shimon. For the following mice, Dom Rabbi Zero. This is a complicated case. The story. Rabbi Zero said, Abba Antoli. I know who Abba Antoli was. Somebody time in Amoroi. Zavin Peri Minaro Daramoy. He bought fruit from a guy. Asel Gabi de Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi. This is not the regular town of Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. He'll come up in a minute. The regular Amor. This is another Amor. So I came to Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi. Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi Sholch Menachem Brei. He said Menachem, his son, his own son, to fix up Abba Antoli's fruit, which Abba Antoli brought from a goy. V'yorvle Maisrei. And he gave the Meiser to Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi. Miyasi, when he came, Kami Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. So he stood before Menachem, the kid. Stood before Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi praised Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi, maybe was his brother, I don't know. Amarlei said to Menachem, "Oh, man, yavido elavuch. Who was smart enough to do this except for your father?" In other words, he was praising Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi for passing like Rabbi Meir, that this fruit was chayav in Trumas Maisrus, right? So it says more. That's a difficult thing. Mechalfe should say Rabbi Yehoshua ben Levi. This is a switch of the normal shit of Yehoshua ben Levi. To Tamonu Amar, over there he said, back a few lines before, Halokeach, Peros Flushim Mina Akum, that if you buy fruit which is severed from the ground, from a goy, mafish trumas meiser me'alocha. The trumas meiser is only midrabanon v'nois l'shevet, and even though you have to give it to the shevet, v'noitel dama mina shevet, you could charge the Kohen Levim for it. V'achu amar achein, and he was praising Rabbi Yehuda ben Levi and his son Menachem for having taken the trumas meisers from Abba Toli's stuff, obviously without payment. So he's contradicting himself. Says Ma'aram Rabbi Abba Bar Zmina, Kumi Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Abba Bar Zmina said for Rabbi Zira. Rabbi Simon Lo Markain. You got the story wrong. Rabbi Simon didn't tell the story like this. Ella, rather, Yasi Kami Me Rabbi Shua ben Levi. When Rabbi Menachem came, it still be for Rabbi Shua ben Levi. Amar Lei said, Leis Ilain Davech. Isn't this Leis in Davech? This Meiser does not belong to your father. Vikpin, and he got upset at Menachem. Rabbi Shua ben Levi was consistent. He said, you had no right to take this. Even if you took it, what should you have had to have done for it? Since you're a Levi, you should have had to pay for it. So what you did was improper. Okay. Rabbi Zir, Rabbi Ach, Rabbi Tanel, Rabbi Chia, Rabbi Shua ben Levi, and name of Shua ben Levi, said, Shlosha Shem Meiser Shelo Birshus. There are 3 cases in which I can take meiser of somebody else's crop without getting his permission. It's to his benefits for me to do it. What are they? Now, normally, why normally would it not, why in Islam, a classic case, why if you have tevel, can't they go and take fruit, trumas and meiser off your tevel? Yeah, the Chorsh B'Yisrael Shalom, but why is it not? What's the chav? No, but anyway, it's going to have to take off trumas and meisers. No. Let's say we know that's not the case. Because he might have wanted to take off less good stuff for better stuff. In other words, we don't know what stuff he wanted to make trumas, what stuff he had to. So it crops up in the Bavli several times, this issue, right? They says, klach l'choitza yafos, klach l'choitza rose. Maybe I wanted to give better, maybe I wanted to give worse. So normally I can't go down to your field, to your crop, and take trumas and meises off of it without your consent. Except in 3 cases. One of them is, zed sh'nisayv tivlo b'chulin. Your tevel got mixed up in chulin. So in that case, I'm not meising from your stuff on your stuff. It's also in that case. I can't meiser from this batch. Because maybe this batch is, maybe the one thing I'll pick up b'chulin, maybe it's tevel's, no way of knowing. So I can't meiser from this batch on itself. I have to go somewhere else and meiser on this batch, right? So I take it from anyway, I have to take from somewhere else, not internally. So in this case, I can come in and meiser from my own stuff at home. This is my magnanimous gesture. My stuff at home on your stuff. That's one. And it should be goyim. Here it doesn't mean Samaritans, here it means goyim. Now, this is a case where the case which we had in Rabbi Shua ben Levi and all these Tanoim Amoraim before, I'm taking trumas and meises off fruit, piskei, which was cut off by goyim. They harvested fruit. So in this case, what do I do with the fruit? I sell it to a Kohen or Levi. So here, there's no problem of me taking off 2 good stuff and 2 bad stuff. Because anyway, you're getting paid for what you're giving, right? Where's that a problem where the Israel is not getting paid for the trumas and meises is giving to the Kohen or Levi? So he says, I would have given poorer stuff. Or maybe, unlikely, but he would have given better stuff. But here, the guy says, anyway, there's no question of the quality of a gift. You're not giving a gift in this case, where you might have wanted to give a better, worse gift. What are you doing? A sale. So whatever you give, you're getting money for, so you're not losing anything either way.
Assuming that the Baal is the one that does the sale.
No, the person who does a favor can do the sale. Yeah, that's the chiddush here. Because anyway, the Baal doesn't lose anything. No matter what the guy sets aside, no, the owner's not losing anything, right? Because he's getting paid regardless of what it is. Okay? That's the second case. Now, the third case, the Gemara doesn't bring down. It's brought down here by the Gra. Probably the Ridbaz brings it down. Utrumas chutzlaretz. The Truma of chutzlaretz. Because by Trumas chutzlaretz, they used to take Truma in the environs of Eretz Yisrael. You know, Bavel, Syria, Bavel, a couple of, I don't know Bavel, but Syria and Jordan and places like that. So there too, the status of Trumas chutzlaretz is just like the Truma from the severed stuff of a goy in Eretz Yisrael, that you're allowed to take payment for it, so therefore anybody can set it aside for you. Rabbi Zira says, now here the Girsos get all messed up. So I have the Gra's Girsi, and probably the Ridbaz brings it down. Rabbi Zira says, Zosomeris, this teaches us, this statement, that the three Meiser Shlo B'Rishus, this teaches us that Shehu Noto Domim Neshevet, that in these cases you're allowed to accept payment. Okay? Allowed to accept payment, because that's the factor which allows you to go take Trumas Samaitis off without getting permission, because there's payment to be had. It's a transaction. Because because if you would say she'eino noto damim min hashevet, that he can't get money on this, harei shelo b'rshus Torah, it reverts to being impermissible to take Truma. The base of it is how you're going to get paid for you're giving anyway. Rabbi Yochanan said, time of the Rabbi Lazar. Now this is going back to the Mishnah, is a new thing. Full stop. Rabbi Yochanan said, time of the Rabbi Lazar, the larger Rabbi Lazar and Mishnah, they're not allowed to be turning from one kuti stuff to another kuti stuff. Is, now here it's a little bit tricky, this next line. Kishem shosu peros Eretz Yisrael demai. Just like they made the fruit of Amaratim, Jewish Amaratim, Eretz Yisrael Demai. Achar, now here the word Achar means despite the fact that Reuben ain't, Achar Reuben, despite the fact that most people do take off Trumas and Meises, because we know Rova Me'ar, it's Meiser. You know, unless it's like going to take off Demai. Now there where most people do take off Trumas and Meises, nonetheless, ain't Tormi U'Meiser Mizelzeh. You're not allowed to take Trumas and Meisers from one Demai up another Demai, because maybe this Demai is good and that Demai is bad, or vice versa. Kach. So too, Rabbi Lezer, as far as Peros Kuti Vadai, they made Peros Kuti Vadai. Definitely Tevel. Achar, and here Achar means because. Ruban. Because most of them don't take up Trumas and Meisers. Yet nevertheless, since there are some Kutim who do take off Trumas and Meisers, so therefore the Vadai of one is not the Vadai of another, and therefore each one is independent. You can't take off from one Kuti and another Kuti. So it's basically the Kavachomer is like this. If by Demai, we're Rov Amaratzim or Meiser, and really I could say go after the Rov, and it's all Meisered anyway. So let me Meiser from one Demai and another Demai. I say you're not allowed to. You can only Meiser from one Demai in and of itself, and not the other Demai in and of itself, and not from one to the other. Kavachomer, by Kutim, where the majority of stuff is not Meiser, and it's only a prevalent miut which does Meiser, that there I can't Meiser from one guy's stuff and the other guy's stuff. Okay, Chachamim argue. Chachamim hold all Kuti stuff is Vatai. They don't take up Trumas and Meisers. We're not even choishes that they take up Trumas and Meisers. Okay? Rabbi Boom Bar Chia, we'll just finish the paragraph, then we'll stop. Rabbi Boom Bar Chia, B'Shem, Rabbi Zira said, Otzitz, Osu Oso Sofik, by a otzitz, which is a non-perforated pot, it's a something. Could be it is considered to be like it's mechuber l'karka. It's not definitely not mechuber l'karka. Says, what are you talking about? V'atzina, didn't we learn? Otzitz, nokuv, mekadish bekerem. If you pass a perforated pot full of grain through a vineyard, we had this case in Bavli a couple of times, then it's Mekadish Ner, makes Kilayim. Right? Because we say there's a connection through the air between the grain and the planter and the vineyard on the ground. And it says in the same places that a non-perforated one doesn't make it kilain. And here the girsa should be v'kadish misafek. If you're going to say that we're mesupak, if a non-perforated pot is mechuber like karka or not, so there it's a suffix to Haraisa. It's a very common suffix to Haraisa. It's a suffix of Isser Anoah. You should have to be machmir. If you don't have to be machmir, what does that prove? That there's no suffix, and Otit Shein or Nokul is definitely not considered to be mechuber like karka. Okay? Period. New issue. Kimad the tamer min avada el admai. Just like you said, when you take off truma for something which is vada and something which is my truma, it is truma. But lo soch, I can't even eat the truma itself. Achiotila truma sumaisris. Until you take truma sumaisris off of it. V'amra mina demai el demai kain. Let's say that's true when you take from demai and demai as well. Right? That made the same thing should be true. That when you take off from one demai another demai, so maybe you're taking off from one which is mechuyev and one which is not mechuyev. So says the Gemara, you know what? Technically speaking, you should be right, but there it's different because of it's all drop. Well, we'll see it inside. Rabbi Chia b'shem Rabbi Shmuel bar Chia b'shem Rabbi Shmuel Bari says Zosomer. This teaches us, and here the gears is also messed up. Here it should be according to the Gra. Safik truma sumaisa shel demai kesafik dimua. It's like a safik where the truma demai fell back into the pot itself, where he said you're allowed to ask the amoritz and all those school supplies that pot to me that demai. But that which you're not allowed to be marfish truma from one demai and the other demai is only the chatchila before the fact. But if you did it already, b'di'evet, you took off truma from one demai and another demai, so b'di'evet it stands. Why? Again, because after the fact, there are all sorts of kulas by demai. One of them is that if the truma you took off of demai fell back into the chulin mixture, so I just don't look at the truma of demai. I say it's batel, right? So to here I say the same. There's a kula after the fact, which doesn't apply before the fact. B'di'evet versus l'chatchila. Okay, we'll stop here for tonight, and tomorrow night we have a pass. Yeah. Daf Yomi in the morning, yes.